Hi guys, in this video I thought it'd be fun to share with you a radio interview that I did with Carol Blonder where we talk a little bit about real ear measurement, over-the-counter hearing aids, and even Costco. Coming up.
What I feel about you more than anything is that you want people to, there's a lot of different hearing aids,
right?
But you want, from what I remember when we talked about last time, was that you want to make sure that they're fitted right. Because a lot of people have a lot of trouble with their hearing aids, and that's probably, you said it here. I mean, someone was talking when they heard you were on, and you said, it's probably not fitted right.
Right. I mean, it's the sad fact of the matter is that the majority of hearing aids that are out there walking around on someone's ears are probably not fit correctly. And the reason we know that is because we've actually done research on this in our field, and there are things that are considered best practices in the hearing industry. And one of the major best practices that clinicians do not use on a regular basis is something that's called real ear verification or real ear measurement. This is the only way to ensure that hearing aids are programmed correctly, and about 70% of hearing care providers do not use them. And so if you don't use them, you essentially do not know if a hearing aid has actually been programmed correctly to your hearing loss prescription.
I gotta ask you, why don't they?
That is a good question. There is a lot of skepticism out there about why they don't. Maybe lack of accessible equipment. The equipment's expensive to be able to do that particular evaluation.
Well, you do, obviously.
Of course, I'm a very staunch advocate for using best practices and having real ear measurement be the cornerstone of actually doing that. But I mean, some clinicians, they believe that hearing technology has come a long way, which I'll give them that, it has, but it still doesn't guarantee that that hearing device is programmed correctly to the levels that you need in order to hear and hear clearly again.
What are some of the questions? I gotta ask you, what's the #1 question that you get asked?
Why are hearing aids so expensive?
Why are they so expensive?
So hearing aids are expensive because not only is there a technological component to it, but there's a service component to it, right? So coming in to get services from me costs money. I'm not just taking a hearing device from a manufacturer and putting it on your ear and saying, good luck, right? That would be more of like a retail model to where you're just maybe buying something online, right? And so there are added costs in order to have that done. Now, you can pay those additional costs to a hearing care provider who's not going to follow best practices, right? Or you can pay basically the same amount of money to a hearing care provider who will. And so the trick then comes down to, how do you know if the hearing care provider you're going to go to actually follows these best practices?
Well, you don't know. You would never know.
Right. You wouldn't know unless you actually go in and watch some YouTube videos that I've created about things that you should be asking a hearing care provider to ensure that they're actually going to be providing the proper care for you to maximize the benefit of those hearing aids.
Do you want to tell anybody a little bit of that right now, or do you want them to go to the YouTube channel?
They should probably go to the YouTube channel because there's about 160 or 70 videos that are up right now, and for me to try to concisely describe all of that here in the next few minutes isn't realistic.
So you go up on the YouTube channel, it's youtube.com, and search for Dr. Cliff A-U-D. Does it have to be capital A-U-D, or does it
No,
matter?
in fact, if they just type in Dr. Cliff, the first option that will pop up is likely my channel. There's not a whole lot of other information on YouTube regarding those topics.
Now, we're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. Like us, follow us, and I'm going to share the show afterwards. When someone calls you, do you do like a little consultation with them? How does that work?
Well, it's become increasingly more difficult to actually get to speak to me directly, but I will. One of the better ways to get a simple question answered is to actually leave a comment on one of my videos. I try to answer every single comment that comes through. If they want to have a consultation with me where I do an entire case review for them, evaluate their hearing tests that they've had done elsewhere, give them what my recommendations would be to get a relatively unbiased opinion on what they should be doing, knowing that if you're calling me from New York City, you're not coming out to see me in New York City. I'm not going to be selling you hearing aids, right? I'm just equipping you with the knowledge to go into a hearing care provider where they are to get treatment.
I think if there's a lot of people out there that have hearing aids that are not, they still can't hear, or they're having troubles with it. It's invaluable. And what I say about what makes you different than also, there's a lot that makes you different than anyone else, but the fact that you walk their talk, you have a hearing loss in your ear, so you know exactly what they're going through anyway, right?
Right, you know, and I have a little bit of a unique hearing loss. It's what we call a cookie bite hearing loss. So I have some middle frequencies. You have low, mid, and high in general. I have a mid-frequency loss, which is relatively uncommon type of hearing loss to have. And in some cases of hearing loss, hearing aids aren't the right treatment option. Right, and it just goes with me is
you
that
have to use a horn.
Right, right. But in my particular case, for my type of hearing loss, hearing aid isn't going to actually be the right treatment option. So that's the other thing. You have to actually identify if a hearing aid is in fact the right treatment option, select the right technology, and get it fit appropriately.
Now, before we go to a break, I want you to talk about over-the-counter hearing aids. I had no idea that they have over-the-counter. I mean, that's crazy.
Right, yeah. I mean, over-the-counter isn't technically available yet. Now, I'll get into that probably after the break.
Oh, they're thinking about, because we're going to go to a break soon.
Yeah, so in terms of over-the-counter, in 2017, the Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act was signed into law by President Donald Trump, and it's going to open up a new category of hearing aids that you can actually purchase direct rather than going to a hearing care provider like myself.
So then it's a good thing, in your opinion?
I actually do think it's a good thing.
And tell me why.
Because there's individuals out there who are avoiding treatment specifically because they don't want to come in and see me. And I get it, right? I mean, you have to pay money to get my opinion and to make sure that best practices are followed. But if you're just looking for a little bit of a boost, or you're like, you know what, I just want to dip my toes in the hearing aid waters, going and buying maybe a device online that's regulated to make sure that it, passes the FDA is a good option for someone.
Well, I would never even thought you would say that, but I am so impressed that you did, because it says to me what your ethics are, and the way that you look at this is that, to me, it seems like it's worth it to try it. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Right. I want people to do what they feel is in their best interest.
Better to have hearing than no hearing at all, because when you don't hear, I mean, I know I might even have a little bit of a problem like that, because I wear these earphones all the time and it's loud in here. A couple of things that we were talking about at the break, which was these over-the-counter ones that are going to be coming up. Let's talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, so I mean, there's already companies who are kind of eyeballing this, and one of them, a name that people would be familiar with, is Bose. Right? I mean, Bose, they make, they make audio products. It just seems to be a natural fit for them. And they actually just did essentially a trial study to see if their self-adjusting hearing aid would actually be capable of treating hearing losses in individuals. And they ended up getting some pretty good responses out of that. So I'm actually really excited to see products like this come onto the market. Individuals who are, let's say it, is skeptical if hearing aids would actually work for them, maybe they go and get a Bose hearing aid, at Best Buy, and they wear it, they adjust it on their cell phone, and like, you know what, I'm actually hearing my kids again, I'm hearing my grandchildren, and I think that will improve their quality of life, right? They don't need me, essentially, to be able to do that.
I was going to ask you why they wouldn't still want to, use you.
So, I mean, there's the potential that when they use that product, that they're not quite getting everything that they feel that they should, and they want to have their hearing evaluated while using that product. Another reason we could use Real Ear Verification to actually take that product that they bought elsewhere, come into my clinic, test them to see if they're actually meeting their prescription, because it all comes down to the prescription. If you have a hearing device in your ear, I don't care if you spent $1 million on it, if it's not fit to your prescription appropriately, and for each individual frequency that you have a hearing loss at, you're not going to get the max benefit out of it, right? But you spend $500 on a set of Bose hearing aids, or $1,000, or however much they're going to cost, we don't know yet. That's a cheaper way for you to get in and see if hearing treatment is something you want to do.
Now, you said that the number one question is, why are they so expensive?
Right.
But what's the second question?
So I think that Costco, right? So individuals who are interested in, are the Costco hearing aids really good, right? Because Costco hearing aids, I mean, relatively speaking, they are cheap, right? And cost. but the devices themselves are actually pretty good. Similar manufacturers that I will dispense out of my clinic will have a version of their hearing aids in Costco, albeit they do remove some features from those hearing aids, but to maybe an entry-level hearing aid user, they're not even going to notice, most likely, those the things that they're removing from those devices. So the hearing aids in general at Costco are good devices, but then the question always comes down to, okay, so the hearing care provider who works there, did they fit it and program it correctly, right? Because I get Costco patients every week.
Really?
They come into my clinic, they're like, hey, I've got these hearing aids from Costco. We hook them up to the real ear measurement machine, and we find out, oh, well, sorry, they're good hearing aids, but they weren't programmed appropriately. So we either correct it, or if they're a locked version of the Costco hearing aid where I can't adjust it, they can either take it back or just, deal with the amount of benefit that you are getting. Maybe you're getting some benefit, right? And it becomes a cost-benefit analysis that they have to do for themselves.
So are there, hearing aids that you can buy online?
There are, actually. You can buy devices online right now.
They're going to be $1 million.
But no, I mean, and the thing is that you can get them pretty cheaply. Now, there are some absolutely companies out there that are selling products that are pieces of junk. I don't know how else to explain it. They've also done other research on these different devices you can buy online, and some of them, if you broke down how much benefit you got from the device and how much you should basically pay for that device, there are some products that they should actually pay you to wear them because they make your hearing worse than it was before putting their device on.
Amazing.
Right? So you have to be careful about that. There is also products, over the counter in stores that are just sound amplifiers, but you can actually risk causing damage to your hearing by using those, so I would caution those. But the thing that's going to be great about Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act, once it takes 3 years, right? So President Trump signed it into law August 2017. It's going to take 3 years for them to come up with the actual guidelines for that law, and then there's going to be a 180-day comment period for people to essentially look at those guidelines and make comments and saying, this doesn't make sense, that makes sense. And so we're looking at, 2020, maybe beginning of 2021, to where we're actually going to see regulated devices that you can buy online and be safe to do.
So let's talk about this. What are some of the cool things that hearing aids can do today?
Right, so now that we're talking about cool things that hearing aids can do, this is the exciting part, right? Because these are not like the hearing aids that you had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, these hearing aids that would go on your ears and just whistle like crazy, right? The technology has gotten so good, and there's different features, like you can directly connect to your smartphone. Right, so you can have a phone call. If you have trouble on the phone, you can actually stream audio from your phone into your ears. And I had people say, Cliff, I don't need that. So you don't think you need it, but then you answer a phone call and you get that audio in both of your ears at the same time. It takes you from not being able to hear and understand what someone's saying to being able to clearly understand what they're saying, right? There's rechargeability nowadays. So all these little hearing aid batteries everyone complains about, I get it, they're small, right? They only last, a couple days.
They gotta be small, they're going in your ear.
I know, I mean, and that's another point is that these hearing aids are getting so small nowadays to where you can't even see them. I mean, you could be walking by someone on the street, you could be talking as close as we're talking together right now and not be able to identify if someone's wearing a hearing aid, right? And so there are individuals who are like, well, I don't like the idea that I potentially have some hearing loss. That makes me feel old. Yeah. But at the same time, no one else knows that you're wearing a hearing device. They just know that you can actually hear them now rather than saying what all the time and responding in off-key comments, something that you completely misheard because you can't hear them.
Exactly, and I think that is the key right there. There's so many people out there that they just don't want to admit it. They're in a denial stage because I don't know why. I mean, I have to say, I've been talking to you at the break about me. I think I have, but I think we must know it. We must know that we can't hear because we're always saying, what? Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, with hearing loss, it's hard to know what you're missing, right? With vision loss, you know what it's like to clearly see something across the room. And if you can't clearly see that, you know that there's something going on with your vision, right? From hearing loss perspective, your ears are capable usually of getting some information to your brain, and then your brain fills in the gaps. So you think that you're hearing the right thing, but in fact, you're hearing something completely wrong. And I mean, I had a patient today who came in and who basically said, yeah, it was a really awkward Christmas Christmas party that I went to because some guy was telling me about his kidney stones and she just smiled and nodded, right?
Oh, wow.
And it's embarrassing,
Right.
right? I mean, would you rather wear an invisible device that gives you your hearing back so you can properly respond to someone who's making a comment or asking you a question?
But more than anything, what you really want is that you want to make sure that it fits right, because your hearing aid, you might be having trouble with it, and it might be just because it's not fitted properly.
Right, you'll get maybe a little bit of benefit out of it, but you're not going to achieve your maximum result. And that's literally the thing that I care about the most, at least for my patients in my clinic, is that if you come see me, every single thing that needs to be done to maximize the performance of the hearing aid is going to be done. And if you don't come to me, watch the videos to find out what those things are so you can go wherever you live, go to the hearing care provider and demand that these things be done for your hearing devices.
To me, I think that anybody that's either already knows that they might have a loss, or maybe it is that you already are wearing one and you're not having it, I think it's a good idea to call you. It just said call you.
I mean, you know, it wouldn't hurt, to be honest with you. You'll probably have to schedule a time to talk to me, because I'm getting calls from not just the United States, it's gone worldwide now. So I'll get calls from different countries wanting advice on treating their hearing loss, and I'm happy to help them. It's just, unfortunately, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Really quickly, I want to talk about this. What about the link between hearing loss and dementia?
Yeah, this is a big one. So, hearing loss has been linked to cognitive decline, right? So it's not necessarily causal, but it is a correlation in the data. So if you have a mild untreated hearing loss, you are 2 times more likely to experience dementia. If you have a moderate hearing loss, you're 3 times more likely. And if you have a severe hearing loss, you are 5 times more likely. And so and I want to make sure I'm clear on this. If you have a hearing loss and you don't treat it, it does not guarantee that you're going to get dementia.
Right.
I am also not saying that if you do treat your hearing loss, you will not get dementia. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is a risk factor that we're trying to remove. If you have high blood pressure, your doctor may put you on high blood pressure medication. The point of that is to remove that high blood pressure as a risk factor for a stroke or a heart attack, right? It's the same thing with treating your hearing loss. When you are actually missing hearing, you need to be able to replace that sound to make sure your brain is healthy and hearing again. Hey guys, I know that was a long interview. Thank you for watching the whole thing. If you want to check out more videos that I have on my channel, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. I'll see you next time.